Hi, we're reading Clementine and the Family Meeting. And we just read about Clementine, and she just got her new tool belt with her dad at the store. And she's sitting in the car right now with the tool belt on. The baby can't touch this tool belt, I said. Absolutely not, my dad agreed. And not Carrot either, I went on. Not your brother either, Dad said. He'll have to be satisfied with the one we bought him. It's just for me. It's just for you. Because I'm the oldest. Right, because you're the old enough for the responsibility of wearing an heirloom from the Ming Dynasty. Dad, don't wreck this. Okay, sorry, really. I put my hand on the hammer and squeezed hard. I'm sorry too, I said. For what? Dad asked. For saying it's unfair about the baby. He's just a baby. He's just a baby. He doesn't mean to be unfair. My dad was quiet for a minute. Then he pulled the car over and turned the key off, which meant here comes a serious talk. He turned around to look at me. Clementine, I've been thinking, he said. I tried to put myself in your place, and I asked myself, what if my kids told me they were getting another dad? That they loved me just fine, but they thought our family had room for another father, and they hadn't asked for my opinion. How would I feel about that? I asked myself. And the answer was that I would feel a lot like you seem to feel. But that's not the same thing at all, I told him. Well, not exactly, no. It's different with parents, of course, but the point is it helped me understand how you felt. I just want you to know that I get it. Chapter 8. When we got home, my dad was in the kitchen making dinner. I'm sorry, it was not Dad, it was Mom. My mom was in the kitchen making dinner, and here she is making her dinner. I started to give her a big hug, but then I realized something. I was hugging the new baby too. I stepped back and hugged her on the side. Then I gave her belly a really small pat. How's mushroom soup doing today? I asked. Mushroom soup? My mom asked. I'm starting a casserole here. No mushrooms at all. No, I mean the baby. The baby has to have a food name, I explained. You like soup. How about a soup name? Like mushroom soup. How about that? My mother laughed. We haven't thought about names yet, she said. But when we do, I doubt mushroom soup will be at a top contender. Then she looked down and saw what I was wearing. Bill, this isn't safe, she said, turning me around. She's going to trip over these tools. Plus, they're mauling her. That wrench is going to crack her little shin bone. My dad stood up from me. The people in my family are known for their extra hard shin bones. We all develop extraordinary strength and balance from wearing tool belts as children. So it's actually a plus. I could see my mom getting ready for a big argument, so I thought it was smart to get out of there while my dad was ahead. I'm going to go visit Margaret for a minute, I said, and then I ran out. I clunked into the elevator and used my wrench to press the door number 5 button. I rang the bell with the screwdriver. Mitchell opened the door and his eyes nearly popped when he saw what I was wearing. Dudette, he cried. He gave me a high five. Awesome! Mitchell calls me great names like Dudette. And there's Mitchell opening the door. He calls me Dudette because he wants to be my boyfriend. So far, I haven't let him be my boyfriend because I don't want one. But if I ever do want one, which I won't, and if it's ever Mitchell, which it won't be, now I knew what I should wear on our first date. My tool belt. Hey, Mitchell, I said, what was your science fair project when you were in 3rd grade? Mitchell squinted and scratched his head. 3rd grade is ancient history. Oh, I remember worms. I grew worms, measured how they made the soil better or something. Was that a good project? Good? Are you kidding? It was awesome. Margaret didn't come in my room for a whole month. No, I meant, oh, never mind. I don't have a month to grow worms. I need an instant, just add water kind of project. How come? I explained the whole Wayland problem. Mitchell shook his head sadly when I was done. Dude's going to pay, he said. What do you mean? I asked. That kid gets up in front of everybody, says he can walk through a wall, and then doesn't do it? He shuddered and made the baseball "You're out" sign. Dude's toast. Burnt toast. I hadn't thought about that. Margaret came into the hall just then. What's the matter with you? Why are you looking so worried? She asked me. Then she saw my tool belt. Did you break your back? Is that a brace? She leaned in for a closer look. Oh, for goodness sake, she muttered. You are crazy. I'm not crazy, Margaret, I said, following her down the hall to her room. Now I can build things. Maybe I'll be a builder when I grow up. That's not crazier than you being a makeup artist. Margaret turned around then with a dreamy expression on her face from the magic words, you being a makeup artist. I might not even have to wait until I grow up, she said. When my father finds out how good I'm getting, he'll probably let me start working in his studio right away. You're not going to California, Margaret, I reminded her, because your mother's not having a baby. Besides, even if she did, maybe you'd like it. Lots of kids like having a new babies in their families. Margaret looked at me like I was out of my mind. If I were you, I would be moving out right now. I would be on the next plane to California with my makeup bag. Hey, Margaret snapped her fingers. I should practice now on you. No way, I said. I'm never going to wear makeup. You'll have to someday. If you want people to like you, you have to wear makeup. That's not true. Yes, it is, especially if you're going to go around wearing a tool belt. There's no rule about that, I cried. My mother doesn't wear makeup, and lots of people like her. Margaret shrugged. Your mother is pregnant, she reminded me, which I knew. Margaret looked into her mirror and flipped her hair. Her face melted into a dreamy smile again. And another thing, in California, I could have a new hairdo anytime I want. There are hairdoers who practically live at my father's commercial-making studio. Suddenly, I couldn't stand to hear one more word about Margaret going to California. Okay, fine, I said. You put makeup on me. This is called throwing someone off the track. I guess Margaret was afraid I was going to change my mind because she shoved me into the seat at her dressing table and slapped a towel around my shoulders before I could say another word. She shut the door and rubbed her hands together. Then she pulled a big pink case from her closet. Here, her cat, Mascara, went electric and ducked under the bed when he saw that case. So I figure she had been practicing on him, too. Inside the case were dozens of brushes and sponges and tubes and little jars. Margaret examined them for a while and finally selected a glittery tube. We'll start with a base of sun-kissed peach, she said. I'll apply it double thick to try to hide those freckles. There's Margaret and Clementine. Margaret's going to try to make her up pretty. I like my freckles, I said. Don't hide them. Too late, Margaret said. Margaret was already dabbing gunk on my face and rubbing it in, and dabbing more gunk and smearing it around some more. Every once in a while, she'd step back and hold her thumb up and squint at me like a cartoon artist. Then she'd nod as if she was doing an excellent job. Every time I wanted to jump off the chair and go home, I remembered about Margaret leaving to go live in California. Margaret is my friend, even though she is kind of a bossy girl, and even though sometimes she can get kind of crazy about rules, and even though I sometimes don't recognize her anymore. She is my friend, And I figured that maybe if my friend could paint my makeup all over my face and pretend she was an artist, she wouldn't move away to California. Suddenly, Margaret screamed. Ah! She clapped her hand over her mouth to shush me, even though she was the one who'd screamed. And even though now she was going to have to wash that hand 100 times because she is a germomaniac. What's the matter? I hissed through her hand. Margaret had turned white and her eyes were popping out. My mother and Alan are back, she whispered. So what? I asked. She jumped out into the hall, spun around, and jumped back in again. Margaret takes all kinds of dance lessons. I could see that they were really paying off. We have to go to your apartment, she said. She tugged my arms out of my sweatshirt sleeves and pulled the sweatshirt up over my head and then tied the sleeves over it. We can go out now, she told me. Why do you think she's doing that? What would be the reason for her to do that? We will find out tomorrow.